I want you to picture two people, same city, same general neighborhood, roughly similar lives from the outside. The first person is David. He's 38 years old, earns $72,000 a year, and has been at his company for 6 years. He drives a reliable car, pays his bills on time, and has never missed a rent payment in his life. By any normal measure, David is doing fine, but his bank account tells a different story. David has $412 in his checking account right now. He has $11 in savings. Last month, when his car needed a brake job, he put it on a credit card at 22% interest. The month before that, when his landlord raised his rent, he quietly renewed his lease without negotiating because the thought of searching for a new apartment with no financial buffer made the whole thing feel impossible. Last spring, a recruiter called with a role, paying $14,000 more per year. David was interested. He needed 3 months to complete a certification for the new position. 3 months without that kind of income was not an option. He declined the call. The second person is Christine. She's 36 years old, earns $65,000 per year. That is $7,000 less than David. She works in the same industry. She lives in a similar apartment. She has a modest car. She shops at the same grocery stores. But Christine has $19,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account. She calls it her cushion. It is not earmarked for anything specific. It is simply there. Last month, Christine's manager offered her a promotion with only a 3% raise attached to it. Christine thought about it for a week and then countered with a request for 12%. She got 9%. The month before, Christine walked away from a lease renewal when her landlord tried to raise rent by 8%, found a comparable apartment 2 miles away, and negotiated a lower rate because she had first and last month's rent ready immediately. And when that certification course came up in her industry, Christine enrolled. She has the buffer to handle 3 months of reduced spending if she decides to pursue something better. Same city, similar salaries, radically different options available to them every single day. Most financial advice frames a cash cushion as a defensive tool, something to protect you when the car breaks down or the medical bill arrives, and that is true, but it misses what is actually happening. The cushion is not just protecting Christine from bad events. It is actively improving the quality of every decision she makes, every negotiation she enters, and every opportunity she encounters. It is changing how her brain processes financial information, and the compounding effect of that difference over 5 years, 10 years, a career, is not a small number. Today, I want to walk you through exactly how that works. We will go through the research on what financial scarcity actually does to your thinking, the practical ways a cash cushion eliminates what economists call the poverty premium, how it changes your negotiating position in ways most people never consider, and how you can build this buffer realistically starting from wherever you are right now. My name is Marcus, and I have spent years studying the psychology of financial decision-making and why people with similar incomes end up in dramatically different financial positions over time. If you are working toward genuine financial stability and tired of feeling like you are always one unexpected bill away from a problem, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if this information is useful to you. Here is what the research actually shows about financial scarcity, and it is more consequential than most people realize. In 2013, behavioral economists Mullainathan and Shafir published a landmark study through Princeton University Press. Their central finding was this: financial scarcity does not just create practical problems. It creates a measurable cognitive tax. When a person is operating under financial stress, their available mental bandwidth decreases by the equivalent of approximately 13 IQ points. To put that in concrete terms, that is roughly the cognitive impact of going an entire night without sleep. The effect is not metaphorical, it is neurological. Financial pressure occupies working memory even when you are not consciously thinking about it. The researchers name this effect tunneling. When you are financially stretched, your brain narrows its focus to the immediate problem, the urgent bill, the next paycheck, the current crisis. Everything outside that narrow tunnel gets less cognitive resources than it would otherwise receive. The job offer with the 3-month certification gap. The negotiation you could have had with your landlord. The bulk purchase that would have saved $300 over the next 6 months. The investment account you have been meaning to set up. All of it sits outside the tunnel. Not because you are careless or irresponsible, but because your brain is rationing its attention. It is doing exactly what it is designed to do under scarcity. The problem is that all the decisions sitting outside that tunnel are precisely the ones that determine your financial trajectory over the next decade. This is what David is experiencing, and he almost certainly does not know it. He would not describe himself as cognitively impaired. He would say he is busy. He would say he is doing okay. But every week, he is making dozens of small decisions from a position of narrowed perspective that he would make differently if that $400 brake job were not still sitting on a credit card charging him daily interest. Now here is the aspect of this that most financial content never addresses. The Federal Reserve's 2023 survey of consumer finances found that approximately 37% of American adults would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something. That is not a fringe group. That is more than 1 in 3 adults living with the cognitive tax of financial scarcity operating in the background, narrowing their tunnels, reducing the quality of the decisions that compound into lifetime outcomes. The conventional wisdom says the emergency fund is about emergencies. This advice is not wrong. It is just deeply incomplete in ways that matter enormously. The fund does protect you from emergencies, but the more significant function is that it removes the background anxiety that taxes your cognition every single day, whether an emergency is happening or not. Christine is not thinking about her $19,000 while she is negotiating a promotion. It is not top of mind, but it is underneath everything. It is why she can hold a counteroffer longer than the conversation feels comfortable. It is why she walked away from a lease and found something better. The cushion does not just activate when a crisis arrives. It is running continuously, changing the lens through which every decision gets processed. You might be thinking that this sounds abstract, that the practical financial impact of __0_0_ is hard to measure. And that is exactly what makes this mechanism so invisible and so costly. So let me make it concrete. Consider what financial researchers and consumer advocates call the poverty premium. This term describes a documented pattern. People with less financial slack consistently pay more for the same goods and services than people with adequate reserves. The reasons are structural, and they compound over time. When you cannot pay for a car repair in full, you finance it at high interest rates. When you cannot pay an insurance premium annually, you pay it monthly, and monthly billing almost always costs more in aggregate than annual billing, typically 8 to 12% more. When you cannot afford to buy in bulk during a sale, you pay full price on smaller quantities every week. When you cannot pay a security deposit quickly, you settle for apartments that charge higher monthly rent to compensate for looser terms. When you cannot afford routine maintenance on a car, you pay for emergency repairs that cost 3 to 5 times as much. Each of these is individually small. Together, over a year, they represent thousands of dollars in additional costs that a person with a cash cushion never pays. The person with a cushion is not necessarily earning more. They are simply not paying the scarcity premium on everything they consume. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York's research on consumer financial decisions found that low liquidity households pay an estimated $1,200 to $2,400 more per year in avoidable financial costs, compared to households with adequate emergency reserves. That is money that never builds wealth. It is money that simply evaporates as the ongoing cost of being financially tight. Now let me show you what this looks like across 2 realistic financial lives over a 5-year period. David starts year 1 with essentially nothing in savings. Christine starts with $8,000, which she has built up over the previous 2 years. Their incomes are similar. Their lives are similar. Here is what the next 5 years look like. In year 1, David's car needs $1,500 in repairs. He finances it at 21% interest. Over 18 months, he pays approximately $2,100 total, $600 more than the repair itself. Christine's car needs the same repair. She pulls from her cushion, replenishes it within 4 months. Total cost to Christine, $1,500. Also, in year 1, David's apartment raises his rent by 6%. He cannot afford first and last month's deposit to move, so he absorbs the increase. He pays $3,600 more over the next 3 years than he would have if he had negotiated or moved. Christine finds a better apartment. Her deposit is ready. She negotiates a flat rate and saves $1,200 over the same period. In year 2, David's employer announces a restructuring. David wants to leave. He has no cushion to support a job search, so he stays for 11 more months while the company deteriorates around him. When he finally leaves, he takes the first offer he receives, which is $4,000 below market, because he cannot afford to hold out. Christine, in the same industry, gets an offer she considers below market. She holds out for 6 weeks, she has coverage, she gets her number. In year 3, an investment property becomes available in David's neighborhood. A 2-bedroom condo, priced below market because the seller needs to close within 30 days. David hears about it, but has no capital and no time to arrange financing. Christine hears about the same opportunity. She has enough liquid cash to demonstrate credibility to a lender, moves quickly, and gets the property at 4% below asking because she can close fast. By year 5, the cumulative difference in financial outcomes between David and Christine. When you account for the interest paid, the income surrendered, the higher costs paid, and the opportunities missed, is somewhere in the range of $45,000 to $60,000. Not because Christine earned more, she earned less. Not because she was smarter or worked harder. She had a cushion. That is the entire mechanism. Let me tell you about Jennifer. She was 41 years old, working as a school counselor in Columbus, Ohio, earning $54,000 per year. She was good at her job. She had a master's degree. She had been at the same school district for 9 years and had received 3 merit raises. She had $1,200 in savings. She had $2,300 in credit card debt. Every unexpected expense went on the card. Every time she paid the card down, something else appeared. She was not irresponsible. She was trapped in a cycle that penalized her for every surprise while offering no mechanism to escape it. Jennifer did not find a new income stream. She did not receive an inheritance. She did not win anything. What she did was make one structural decision and refuse to deviate from it for 30 months. She opened a savings account at a bank that was not her primary bank, at a high-yield institution paying 4.7% annually. She set up an automatic transfer of $180 on the 15th and 30th of every month. She put the account number somewhere inconvenient and did not link it to her debit card. She named the account the buffer, and she defined, in writing, the 3 situations that constituted a genuine emergency deserving a withdrawal: job loss, major medical expense requiring upfront payment, or a car repair that made the car undrivable. Not a desire, not a tight month, a genuine emergency. The first phase took 12 months. She built a little over $4,000. Nothing dramatic happened, but something shifted. A credit card bill came in that was higher than expected in month 8. Instead of the familiar surge of dread followed by a payment plan, she thought about it, decided it did not qualify as an emergency, and found the money in her regular budget. She had never done that before. The mental accounting was different now. The cushion was there, and the cushion had boundaries. The second phase, months 13 through 24, moved faster because she had internalized the system. She increased the transfer to $230. She reached $10,000 by month 21. In month 23, she received a call from a neighboring district about a counseling director position. The salary was $68,000. The timing was difficult because the role required a 2-month overlap period during which she would work evenings to transition. She would not have been able to say yes without financial slack. She said yes. She started at $68,000 in month 24. The third phase was consolidation. With her new salary, Jennifer accelerated her transfers to $400 per month and reached a $16,000 cushion by the end of year 3. Her credit card balance was zero. She had stopped paying the poverty premium. She had made 4 decisions in the previous year about housing, her vehicle, a medical procedure, and a professional development course that she would have decided differently without the cushion and the combined financial value of making those 4 decisions from a position of security rather than scarcity was approximately $8,000. Jennifer did not win the lottery. She did not change careers. She did not work 60-hour weeks. She simply removed the cognitive tax of financial scarcity and made decisions from a different position. Now, let me give you a practical path forward based on where you are right now. If you currently have less than $1,000 saved, your first priority is not the amount, it is the structure. Within the next 48 hours, open a high-yield savings account at an institution that is separate from your everyday bank. As of 2026, several online banks are offering 4 to 5% annual percentage yield on standard savings accounts, compared to the national average of 0.46% at traditional banks. The separation is not just for the yield, it is to create friction. When your savings are in the same bank as your checking account, they are psychologically available. They feel like checking account money that happens to be in a different column. When they are at a different bank entirely, they become something else. They become the cushion. This week, transfer a specific amount to that account. It does not matter how small. Transfer something. The account needs to become real. $50 is fine. $100 is better. The amount matters less than the act of initiation. Then, set up an automatic transfer. Whatever amount you can honestly commit to on your payday. Automate before you can talk yourself out of it. If you currently have between $1,000 and $3,000 saved, your structure is working, but your target is not yet high enough to change your decision-making. This week, calculate your exact monthly expenses, not an estimate, the actual number, by reviewing your last 2 months of bank and credit card statements. That number, multiplied by 3, is your first major target. This month, increase your automatic transfer by at least $100 per month. At $400 per month, you reach 3 months of expenses in 6 to 8 months for most people in this range. This quarter, write down your emergency criteria. What actually qualifies as a true emergency versus a tight month, a desire, or something manageable within your regular budget. The act of defining this in advance removes the negotiation that happens in the moment when the expense actually appears. Scarcity thinking is most powerful at the moment of the crisis. Rules made in advance protect you from that moment. If you currently have 3 months of expenses saved, you have crossed the first meaningful threshold. Your next step is to optimize. This week, verify that your cushion is earning a competitive yield. If it is sitting in a traditional savings account, earning less than 1%, moving it costs you nothing and earns you substantially more over time. 3 months of expenses in a high-yield account at 4.5% generates passive income that simply grows your buffer over time. This month, add friction to access your cushion. If the account has a debit card attached, request that the card be removed or not issued. If you can initiate transfers online, consider whether adding a 48-hour processing delay serves you better than instant access. The psychology of friction is well documented. Most financial emergencies that feel urgent in the moment do not actually require same-day cash. A delay gives your rational mind time to assess whether the expense is genuine. This quarter, define your next stage goal. 3 months of expenses is a foundation. 6 months is the target that most financial researchers describe as the point at which the cognitive tax of financial scarcity effectively disappears. One important clarification before we go further. The question I hear most often at this stage is, why am I keeping this money in a savings account earning 4 or 5% when I could be investing it at 8% or more? This question reflects a category error about the purpose of these 2 types of assets. Your cushion is not an investment. It is infrastructure. It performs a completely different function. Investments grow over time, but involve volatility. The S&P 500 dropped 34% in a single month in March of 2020, and it spent most of 2022 in a significant correction. An emergency fund that loses a third of its value precisely when you most need to access it has failed at its fundamental purpose. The cushion needs to be stable, liquid, and immediately available. High-yield savings accounts provide that. They are not optimized for wealth building. They are optimized for security, which is what you need from this specific tool. The purpose of building a cushion is not to maximize returns on the cushion itself. The purpose is to improve the quality of every other financial decision you make with the rest of your money. It is the foundation that makes the investment strategy possible. Here is something most financial content never considers about what a cash cushion actually does to your negotiating position. Think about the two employees who work the same job at the same company. Both receive a performance review that comes in lower than expected. Both believe they deserve more. Employee 1 has $600 in savings. She needs this job. She cannot afford to create friction with her manager. She accepts the review outcome. Employee 2 has $14,000 in savings. She has 4 months to find something else if this does not work out. She schedules a follow-up conversation. She arrives with data on market rates for her role. She calmly holds the discomfort of the negotiation longer than it is pleasant. The manager, reading the room, decides that the raise is worth keeping her. Employee 2 gets what she asked for. The cushion did not speak in that conversation. Neither employee mentioned their savings, but the cushion determined which of those two employees could hold that negotiation at all, and which one folded before entering the room. This dynamic plays out across every financial transaction in your life. When you are buying a car and you have cash in the bank, you walk away from the dealership easily when the terms are not right. When you are renewing your insurance and you have 3 months of expenses available, you can genuinely shop and switch providers. When you are making a career decision, you can choose with your career in mind rather than your mortgage payment. All cash buyers in real estate routinely pay 5 to 10% less than financed buyers for the same property because sellers accept lower offers in exchange for certainty and speed. That same principle, the premium paid for certainty and the discount earned from a position of strength, applies throughout your financial life. You are either paying that premium or collecting that discount. The cushion determines which side of that equation you are on. Here is the deeper truth that almost nobody mentions when they talk about emergency funds. The costs of not having a cushion are not concentrated in a few dramatic emergencies. They are distributed across hundreds of small decisions made under financial pressure over the course of years. The extra interest paid on the credit card repair, the raise not negotiated, the apartment settled for because moving felt impossible, the bulk sale missed, the insurance not switched, the opportunity declined. No single decision is catastrophic. The accumulation is. Over a decade, the poverty premium, the lost negotiating leverage, the narrowed cognitive bandwidth, and the missed opportunities add up to a number that most people would never believe until they see it calculated out. The financial gap between operating from scarcity and operating from security is not primarily about income. It is about the quality of the decisions made at the hundreds of friction points that money encounters in a life. Christine and David were not living in different financial universes. They were navigating the same city, the same economy, the same job market, the same grocery prices. But Christine was making every single decision from a different starting position, one that gave her leverage she used constantly, without drama, without even thinking about it most of the time. The $19,000 was not there to be spent. It was there to change the terms. Picture yourself 2 versions forward from today. In the first version, you are still operating month to month. Every unexpected cost goes on a card. Every negotiation feels like something you cannot afford to lose. Every opportunity that requires a waiting period gets declined. The decisions compound exactly the way decisions made from scarcity always compound. In the second version, you have built the buffer. 3 months, then 4, then 6. You start noticing that you negotiate differently. You start noticing that you read job listings with genuine curiosity rather than desperation. You start noticing that when something breaks, you handle it and move on, and the moving on is faster than you expected because the background hum of financial anxiety has quieted. Both versions of you started from the same place. Both had access to the same information. Both understood at some level what a cash cushion was supposed to be for. But only one took the structural step, opened the separate account, automated the transfer, defined the emergency criteria, and refused to touch the buffer for anything that did not qualify. That structural step is not complicated. It does not require exceptional income or extraordinary discipline. It requires one decision made once, and then a system that runs without requiring the decision to be made again. The research is unambiguous. The math is clear. The mechanism is documented. What you do with that now will determine